Okay, good evening and happy 2025. We're a few weeks in, but I hope it's all going well for you. I thought today I would talk about my most anticipated reads for 2025, specifically the ones I've pre-ordered. Maybe I'll convince you to read them along with me, but also if I'm missing any, please let me know. Because I have real trouble finding out information about release dates, and sometimes I just completely miss even when my favourite authors release a new book. So going in chronological order, let's start with a book that should be arriving any day now. I think it was released yesterday or the day before yesterday, which is Death in the Arctic by Tom Hindle. This is his fourth book, I believe. I read and really enjoyed A Fatal Crossing, but that's the only one of his I've read. I do own Murder on Lake Garda over there on my unread shelves, but I hadn't heard good things about the murder game, so I didn't buy that, and it's very unlikely I'll get around to reading it, but hopefully the other ones are better. And I believe these are all standalone books, so the fact that I've read the first one but not the third shouldn't really matter too much. He does murder mysteries in a kind of quite a classic style, and A Fatal Crossing had a twist at the end that I didn't see coming, so I'm hoping, hoping it carries on with that kind of quality. Then in February there's the next book in the Wayward Children series. It's called Adrift in Currents Clean and Clear. I'm almost caught up with that series. I have to read Mislaid in Parts Half Known, but that's it, and then I'll be caught up. And the next one doesn't come out till February, so I've got a bit of time to do that. I just do the audiobooks, so I'll be getting them through Libby. Then back to the physical books. In March there's Tomb of Dragons by Catherine Addison coming out, the third in the Cemeteries of Amarlo series. I have pre-ordered the nice sprayed edges broken binding edition, and yeah, this is really highly anticipated for the year, because if you've read The Grief of Stones you'll know that things go very wrong for Thara Kelleher at the end of that book in terms of his career and his purpose in life. So the third book should be showing us how he gets on with things, how he moves on or fixes things. I mean, I don't know, we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, that's going to be pretty high on the reading list once it arrives. Also in March, or possibly April, again, like I said, I wasn't clear, is How to Seal Your Own Fate by Kristen Perrin. I've got the first book, How to Solve Your Own Murder, over there. I haven't read it, but I just think it's going to be so up my alley that I'm anticipating the sequel before I've even read the first one. I know it seems slightly bonkers, but these things don't always make sense. And yeah, I've got until March, April-ish to read it. So if it is as good as I hope it will be, then I will be pre-ordering the sequel. I haven't technically placed my order yet. It's just in my shopping basket. Then, these aren't new releases, but some of T. Kingfisher's books are being re-released or republished by a different publisher. And so in March, The Clockwork Boys is coming out with a new cover. I've got the old cover here, so I won't be ordering the new ones, even though they are really pretty. They're much better looking. I guess she's become popular enough that she's been picked up by a different publisher. I don't know the business of publishing well enough to know why you would move from one to the other, but anyway, as well as that, which is the start of the Clock Tour War series, later in the year, in June, they're re-releasing Sword Heart, which I don't already own, so I have pre-ordered it. It has a really gorgeous, colourful cover. I mean, you know, you'll be able to see it. I'm going to put them here, but yeah, I wonder why everything's being, or some things are being re-released, but I don't know. There are two new titles coming out this year, but they're both in series that I'm not really reading. She's got a lot of ongoing series. So there's What Stalks the Deep, which is the third book in the Sworn Soldier series, which I think is very horror based, and since I don't really read horror, so I haven't delved into that side of her catalogue. And then there's also Hemlock and Silver coming out in August. I'm going a bit non-chronological now, but bear with me. Which is part of her retelling fairy tales series. It's not really a series, they're not connected, they're just, you know, she's retelling fairy tales. I wasn't so blown away with When a Sorceress Comes to Call last year, so I haven't pre-ordered Hemlock and Silver, but it's kind of on my radar as like, if I see it in Waterstones, I might pick it up. We'll see. Anyway, back to chronological. I haven't really found anything so far in April and May that I want to pre-order. I can't see any of new releases from my authors that I try and keep track of. I really need to, like, I don't know, join some newsletters or follow them on Instagram or something. Well, there were a couple that caught my eye with like interesting looking covers, like Friends of the Museum by Heather McGowan, but I haven't read any of her stuff before, so I don't tend to pre-order from authors that I haven't read before, but we'll see. And then in May there is the 8th volume of Lore Olympus coming out. That's another one I have to catch up on. I was reading it online for ages, but I've got behind on that, and then I thought I would just switch to the physical copies, but now I'm at volume, I think 5 was the last one I read. Back to actual pre-orders. In June, Bee Speaker by Adrian Tchaikovsky is coming out, so it's the 3rd in the Dogs of War series. Don't know if that's its official name, but that's the name of the first book, which was a 5-star for me, one of my top books of last year. I do need to read Barehead before I read Bee Speaker, but that's okay. I've got 6 months to do that. And then, as I said, that new edition of Sword Heart is coming out. Nothing for July yet. And then in August, R.F. Kuang is releasing Catabasis. I ordered this, God, months and months ago. I think everyone has. You know, so highly anticipated. This is, I believe, yeah, she's going back to fantasy for this book. So it's about some PhD students rescuing their supervisor from hell, which I think will be funny because I believe, I'm correct in thinking that R.F. Kuang is doing a PhD at the moment. Maybe some truth within that fantasy story. Then there is also The Hungry Gods by Adrian Tchaikovsky coming out. He is a very busy man. This will be the latest in his series of novellas. So we've had the Terrible World's Revolutions, and then there was concurrently, there was the Terrible World's Destinations. So they're both complete, as long as they're intended to be trilogies. Then last year there was a new book called Saturation Point, which is Terrible World's Transformations. Only one in that category so far, but I assume there'll be 3 eventually. And then the book coming out in August is called The Hungry Gods, and it's another new subset. So it's Terrible World's Innovations. With Destinations and Revolutions, he did kind of release them alternately, so maybe Innovations and Transformations will be the same, and then like both sets are coming out at once. And then also in August a particularly busy publishing month, there's also Boudica's Daughter by Elodie Harper. The topic alone wouldn't normally make me pre-order it. It's one of those like feminist retellings of a myth or a legend, but this time obviously about Boudica and her family and the Iceni tribe, which is not a topic that would normally immediately appeal to me, but because it's written by Elodie Harper, who wrote my favourite book of last year, I'm going to give it a go. There was a character in the Wolf Den trilogy who was implied to be from, maybe not the same tribe as Boudica, but like the same general tribal community, pre-Roman Britain. So yeah, I guess Elodie Harper's research has taken her from ancient Rome to ancient Britain. She does have a very interesting blog where she talks about her research and recommends books on there as well. Then in September there's the 5th Thursday Murder Club book coming out. Richard Osman, obviously. I don't think there's any title or cover at the moment, but whatever it is, I will be pre-ordering it. And then these aren't new books, but I have pre-ordered the Fairy Loot editions of Kiki's Delivery Service and the sequels to Howl's Moving Castle. Castle in the Sky and Castle in the Air and House of Many Ways. So I had the Fairy Loot edition of Howl's Moving Castle already, and it was a 5-star read, so looking forward to reading the sequels, although I think one might be a companion and one is a sequel, something like that. And obviously because they're fairy lit, they'll be very beautiful. And that brings me to the end of my list. So this was only a short video because, you know, I'm not made of money. I'm not pre-ordering entire libraries. But when I know, or like I'm pretty damn certain that I will like a book because I've read it before, it's part of a series, or, you know, I've read the author before, then yeah, I will order something months in advance. Because I'm doing the hardest reading challenge you'll ever do, I do really want to find some books that will be released in April and May, so I can read them within that 1 month period and complete that prompt of the challenge. But I think that's going to be a matter of finding something closer to the time. So what is that? 1, 2, 13 definite pre-orders, and a few that are just like on my radar. So yeah, am I missing any? Let me know in the comments below. And are there any of these that you are particularly looking forward to reading as well? Hopefully they don't sit on my TBR shelf for years and years. They shouldn't do. Like, they're all highly anticipated and very much looking forward to reading them. Okay, have a nice rest of the day, and I should be in Kenya when you are watching this video, and hopefully I will have found a Kenyan author book in English that I can read whilst I'm out there. I don't know if we'll have time to go to any bookstores, but we'll see. I don't say it very often, but I would appreciate if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you can subscribe. I would love for you to hang around and chat about books with me. Have a nice rest of the day. Bye.